everyone, and welcome back to Trash Gamers. I'm Howl.
And I'm Izzy.
And we are playing Biomutant today. I know Izzy has played it a good bit on Twitch, but I actually had some things I wanted to say.
Yeah, in this episode we're asking the important questions. What could the game fix? What is everyone not talking about?
Yeah, so I actually was getting really pissed this past week because I've already finished this game once already. And I was looking up some of the reviews to see what people were saying about this game because I absolutely love it. And I got a little bit irritated because all these reviewers like IGN and even like Honest Game Trailers, whatever the hell it's called, they'll like talk about these specific things that are bad about the game. And I'm like, they piss me off because a lot of these things are things that they loved about classic games like Knights of the Old Republic or Skyrim. But those are called classic, and this is called shit, even though it's like only in its like third or fourth week of release at this point. So it's bizarre to me that the things people call bad about this game are what make classic games classic. And yet the things that this game could do better at, no one's talking about. So it's been a little bit frustrating, for me at least.
Yeah, so I know when I've been playing it, I haven't been seeing half the criticism.
I thought I heard something.
But for me, it's a very immersive game.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things that I wish would be different, like movesets for certain enemies.
Oh, yeah.
Like that kind of frustrates me a little bit when you have enemies that are different names, different tribes or whatever, yet they have the same moveset, or they have the same same way of attacking you. And it's like, I get it. You don't want to code new fighting moves for each particular tribe.
Sure.
Because some tribes don't even take place in some of the like bandit camps.
Right.
But I mean, some lack of consistency with the moveset would be nice.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, because at that point you're just predicting what that character is going to do.
Right. Well, that frame rate though. There we go.
Big frame rate. But so you had talked about some of IGN's criticisms, and so let's go ahead and dive right into that.
Yeah, and I picked on IGN just because I was. What do you?
Oh,
never
this
mind.
dude's throwing up.
Sorry, I asked. Yeah, so I said IGN, but like, it's pretty across the board. These are some really common critiques, and part of me wonders if that's just because it's in the vogue, it's cool to do. Like people like heard one review company say, and they were like, "Oh yeah, let's hop on this bandwagon and show them the exact same things as the other person," without thinking about it. And
I would wonder if any reviews, like what reviews have changed their opinion after the patches came out, because the developers have sent out patches for at least the PC version and the PS4 version. Don't know about Xbox because we don't have no Xbox.
Right, and that's something I really want to talk about today too. So yeah, to start, let me talk about some of the common critiques that have been happening in these reviews that everyone's talking about, and then I'll kind of go from there to say what I think about those critiques. To start,
did you blow him up?
I wrecked his shit. So yeah, the first thing is everyone wants to talk about the speech and the weird vocabulary or gibberish vocabulary. Or, no, not the gibberish, but just the vocabulary of like the narrator. Because like I guess if we go into let's say gear, let's start there. If I go to inventory, does that give it? Yeah. So like we have words like dainty and tongue tickly and the gooey glace, and the luscious sumptuous. And dandy candy. It's like we have this kind of what a lot of people in the reviews are calling kid speech. That seems really, in their minds, jarring, especially when we get like really big words in the main narration. And I think I might be able to get a good example of that in the journal, if I can remember how to go to here. Okay, so let's check out this dialogue here. Maybe this will help. So we have things like, it'll need a continuous flux of key over 12 months to come. So like we have what some people have called inconsistent dialogue, because we have things like the tongue tickly or whatever. And here 12 months, we can't say year. We also have words here like embodiment. And we had things like continuous flux. So we have like this high syntax and high vocabulary sometimes, but also this almost childlike speech other times. And that's bothered some people. Glittergrass as an example. Yeah, we also have somehow interlinked with this little tree here, fueling its source of life. And I'm just like, the creators of this game are catering to people who like anthropomorphic animals. And believe it or not, those people read Watership Down or Redwall. And in Watership Down, you had the exact same things. These rabbits who had really high speech for themselves, but when talking about human things, they make up words for it. So, like, as crazy as it sounds, there's actually a literary precedent for this kind of dialogue. And what reviewers are saying when they make these kinds of critiques are, oh, I just don't read books. I read video game manuals, and that's about it. So for me, it comes off as a really shitty critique because it just shows that they don't read books. Or at least they're not part of the fandom this game was made for. And this kind of speech stuff is very commonplace in that fandom.
Well, and then one thing I want to point out,
Pew Pew Burger, exactly like that. Yeah.
One thing I'd point out is reviewers are typically harsher on a anthro title. I think there was a furry-esque game that came out just a couple years ago, and people were saying it should have won an award, but it didn't.
Right.
Because they thought the furry aspect was too kiddish.
Oh, yeah. People don't like furry games. They're fine with it in cartoons or whatever, but not in an actual video game.
And so, I guess what I'm saying here is, not that I'm saying I agree with IGN or anything, right. But it makes sense considering that is their take on furry titles.
Right.
And I'm looking for the game right now.
Oh, you're trying to figure out which game it was?
Yeah, because I'm curious.
Yeah. While you do that, the next critique that everyone wants to talk about is the amount of narration and gibberish. It's like, it's been 2 weeks, and the developers had said even in that time they were planning updates already. And the patches they had for the computer and the consoles have been just massive. And they were so receptive to people's critiques. And it's like, I'm in the settings menu right now, and you can now change the frequency of how much the narrator speaks, how much the creatures speak gibberish, and you can also do that with dialogues as well. And I actually want to turn at least the gibberish off on the dialogues myself. Because it is a little bit annoying, I agree. But it's like, it bothers me that was like, a lot of the reviews are really presenting themselves and the game as a final product just because it's out on the market. And it's like, a lot of these people aren't saying in their reviews, but patches are pending. They've just kind of been like, don't buy this game because it'll never get fixed, ever. And it's like, it's already been fixed. And I highly doubt large review outlets like IGN or anything like that are going to ever amend their reviews to say, well, it's better now. Hopefully they do. I hope so. But a lot of review places probably aren't going to ever change their initial review.
Yeah. So the game I was talking about was Black Sad.
Oh, yeah.
The average Metacritic review, just from Google alone, is about 3.5 stars. That's on Metacritic. GameSpot gave it 2.5 stars. So, I mean, it's pretty typical for that to be happening for a furry title.
Yeah, for sure.
And, I mean, I guess it's pretty interesting. People still believe furries to be... It's weird. You can't have it both ways. You know, because there's the criticism of furries are too sexual.
Yeah.
But there's also the same criticism as furries are too childish.
Yeah.
Well, no, you can't have it both ways.
Right. Pick one or the other.
You
almost fell in that sewer there.
And I can go on that for a long time.
Oh yeah,
let's move on before I do get down that rabbit hole.
Unintended, right?
Yes.
So yeah, the third major critique that happens, which really weirds me out, is that a lot of people are like, there's too much going on. There's too many mechanics, and they're all half-baked.
Well, I mean, and what I would say is there's a fuck ton going on in Skyrim, and that was everyone's favorite game.
Yeah, in Skyrim, like, when you say there's too many things going on here, I'm like, I can jump, I can ride mounts, I can shoot, I can use melee, I can use unarmed, and I can use a magic ability. And on top of that, it's open world, and I can upgrade weapons and stuff and do story-focused things. And that's most of the mechanics of the game right there. And I'm just like, yeah, that's Skyrim.
It's Fallout.
It's Knights of the Old Republic from Star Wars, which everyone loves, and everyone's dying for the third game to come out, you know.
Is there another game coming out?
I think it's been announced, like, off and on. We'll see if it actually happens this time.
Oh, so it might be going the way of Duke Nukem.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's enough love of Knights of the Old Republic that it will eventually happen.
Well, yeah, and that's what happened with Duke Nukem, although the game was horrible.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I really don't think there's that much going on with this game that Knights of the Old Republic didn't do. And Knights of the Old Republic had a complicated combat system on top of that, where, like, it was kind of like active turn-based, basically. So it was like D&D, but in live time.
Yeah.
It's like you could make it pause after a, quote, round ended. And it didn't feel as free as something like this.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it's like, oh, it perfected what happened in Knights of the Old Republic, and it perfected a lot of the stiffness of Skyrim.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh my god, this is horrible. How could a game do this?
Yeah, like, and I guess to bring in another modern example that's being remade constantly for like PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. I mean, look at the Dark Souls series.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that has a fuck ton going on with it.
Oh yeah.
I barely understand its leveling system most of the time.
Right.
You know? But like the idea that you have too much to do, or the idea that too much is going on screen, or just too much is happening in the world is ridiculous for me.
Oh yeah.
That just means that they put a lot of stuff in the game for you to do.
Right.
Especially for a story that's pretty linear.
Yeah, it's very linear, and I picked this game up super easily, and I'm not the biggest open world video game player. And I'm especially not the biggest fan of games that encourage you to mix styles and do ranged stuff, because I hate shooters and I hate ranged weapon games anyway. So.
Well, that's why you hated Skyrim, was because you could mix certain aspects. Like you could mix being the Dragonborn, being the Thieves Guild. And
right.
It's like you didn't choose a path and stick with it. You could do all the paths.
Right, and that was one of my biggest critiques of Skyrim. And this one kind of like locks you into certain things a lot, which I like. But yeah, and so like I don't care for the critique that there's too many mechanics. It's like it's not. It's no different than most games that are called classics today. And the fact that this was somehow too hard for you or too much for you and not executed well enough, I'm like, have you ever played an A-list video game before? Or have you stuck to like just fucking 8-bit platformers all your life? I'm not bitter. Anyway.
You sound pretty bitter.
Yeah, and the last common critique I've seen, which isn't super common, but it's like the comic book effects. Like on screen when you attack enemies, it can go like kaboom and wow and name the special moves you do. And like one person was like, and this appears every time you see it, you do this move on screen, it shows it. I'm like, even before the fucking patch, all you had to do was go into system and open up settings and just I say this. Yeah, it's just right here, comic book effects. I turned it off within the first 30 seconds, and it hasn't been a problem. It's almost like the developers were like, some people might not like this. We want to allow you to change it. But instead, you were too lazy to just press pause and open the menu. And that was part of your negative review of the game. Just quit being a lazy fucking gamer, you know? Open the fucking menu.
In case y'all don't know, Hal is really upset by some of these reviews.
Well, yeah, it's just like a lot of them are just lazy. It's like if you're going to do a review of the game, at least know the game, at least know what settings you have at your disposal, and at least have a decent knowledge of video games to be able to say, like, oh, this is actually a pretty common amount of mechanics for an open world video game, actually. Breath of the Wild had way more mechanics than this. It actually had things like weapons can break, and you have to worry about that. And all the spells and stuff have genuine physics you need to worry about. So it's like, Breath of the Wild has so many more mechanics than this, and everyone called it one of the best games ever. And I agree it is, but like, to say that this game has too much for you, I'm just like, no, it doesn't. And kind of going off that, I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the things this game does really well that aren't talked about as much as they should be.
Well, before we get into that,
okay,
why don't you take a moment and tell us where are you going at this point in the game?
Oh,
where are you supposed to be?
I'm kind of just wandering around. I finished the game. I know there's a quest on screen, but as much as I'm trying to sing the game's praises, it's a glitched quest, and I can't actually finish it.
Okay. So I was thinking maybe at some point we should have some combat.
Oh, yeah. I'm kind of cleared out so many enemies in this game. I'm hoping I do encounter some more combat at some point so that I can just showcase that some more. I'm sure it'll happen at some point.
I mean, sometimes they throw in some random enemies here and there. You might go into like some kind of nest or something.
Yeah, there's something up ahead.
There's a fireplace.
Yeah, I might go over there. I mean, you're right. I might actually warp to the fire area of the game and see if there are enemies hanging out there.
Well, yeah, because a lot of times fire and bio areas tend to have enemies that you don't find.
See, I'm not actually sure if enemies respawn in this game, believe it or not. I'm actually not convinced they do. I think they actually stay dead. And I think I was pretty completionist for the first 2/3 of my run of this game. Let me head over here and see if there's anything. But I will look for combat.
So I'm sure our viewers would like to see some kind of combat happening.
Right. So I know that one of my favorite things about this game is the open world aspect, and I mean, of course, that kind of goes without saying. It's an open world game, yeah. But like, there are certain styles of open world I like and certain styles I don't like. In Skyrim and Dragon Age, I had huge issues with the open world areas because things like paths were just stupid and didn't make a lot of sense. Like, I didn't really care. I'm going to try to warp over to the fire area because I think there'll be more combat there. So in those games, I didn't like the open world nature because you didn't have to really go on the paths. A lot of those games became a game of, let's try to hop over this mountain. And that became the nature of the game. And I feel like Breath of the Wild really corrected that really easily by saying, well, we're going to actually give you the ability to climb, and we will reward you for really trying to build your stamina to where you can climb better. So they actually just kind of said, screw Skyrim and Dragon Age for their poorly implemented mountains, and we're going to actually make something out of our mountains, and it'll be a fun time. And they did a great job with that in Breath of the Wild. I'm really excited to see what exploration looks like with Breath of the Wild 2 with their new, basically flying mechanics. So I'm really excited about that.
I'm just happy to see Link flying for obvious reasons.
Yeah. And in this game, I like that they had a different response to Skyrim and Dragon Age. they basically said, we're going to make mountains pretty much impossible, unlike things like Dragon Age and Skyrim. And we're going to...
Oh, look, enemies.
Finally. Alright. Let's just knock these guys out pretty fast.
Yeah. And so, Hal right now has a mostly magic build.
Oh yeah, I'm all magic.
Essentially, they are a glass cannon.
Don't try to hit me, you bitch.
So,
yeah, I am complete glass. Oh, do you want to see my stats, everyone? You want to see how absurd my character is? How do I do that? Oh, actually, yeah. So I have put all of my upgrades into intellect. So my intellect is 481, which is absurd. It means if I ever get hit, I am going to take some damage, and it's going to hurt.
Yeah, I have balanced my stats a bit more.
You did. You balanced yours a lot compared to what I've done.
Just because I do a lot more melee than they do.
Alright. I should knock out a lot more of those.
But my playstyle is mostly melee and magic focused.
Yeah.
That being said, I did raise my darkness up a little bit.
Are you trying to hit me?
And I got a fireball.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad you finally joined the dark side.
Oh, honey, I'm still light. I just have a bit more darkness in me than normal.
Oh, yeah.
You're Regina, and I'm still white.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Who's trying to hit me? Would you stop it? You're not going to hit me with that, not after I do that to you. Yes, open world stuff in this game. I like that they actually really designed the paths in the world very intentionally, so that you're actually having to try to take paths, and you kind of have to take the scenic route because they don't let you climb mountains really. And I really like that. I like that you're rewarded for taking the scenic routes. Now, I do wish they had more stuff out in the open world off the path that you could explore. Because there's not much in the way of treasure that's off the path. As you can see, I'm just going off path and there's really nothing.
Yeah, that's kind of my biggest critique, too. Some of these quests that you're doing are search quests. And for some of the searches that I've done, I've been really rewarded with some really strong weapons.
Yeah.
And I thought those were really cool.
Yeah.
But there's not enough of those.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like it makes you feel like you're unclogging a toilet for no reason sometimes.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and the open... I really like the world itself. It just looks very... I say it's attractive as we're in this green mist right now. But it's generally very attractive. And I absolutely love the different biomes there are, because that was an issue with Skyrim I had. Was I absolutely hated how much of that was
this area
was just
completed.
winter. What's that?
I said this area is not completed.
No, it's not. I've barely
Have you found
touched
this area?
I think so. But let me...
Oh, no, you haven't.
Oh, yeah, I haven't even bookmarked that one, really. So,
this is actually a good example of just stuff.
Yeah.
Like just searching for stuff.
Right.
Because a lot of the loot that you'll find is really like you don't need it.
Right. I would like some more Bioblob stuff. So I'm going to go in here and see about...
And that's something I wish there was more of a focus on.
Was
getting loot and crafting.
Oh, yeah. I think the upgrades are supposed to reward you more for doing... I can do this one still. I think they're supposed to reward you more for upgrading.
Yeah, but like... I guess, for example, Skyrim.
Yeah.
In Skyrim, crafting was part of some quest. It's like, oh, you got this really cool item. Go check out this crafting table and put something together. He's
gonna wreck my ass.
Yep. And here, it's like, you don't ever have to craft anything in this game. You really don't. As you see, Hal is doing most of this game without having crafted a single weapon, really.
Yeah. Quick, get off my case, dude.
But, like,
Okay.
For me, crafting is a big part of RPGs.
Yeah.
And I wish there was more of a focus on that in this game.
Get off of me. Everyone, go away. Stop.
Like, I don't know, like enchantment in Skyrim was really big if you were a mage.
You hit any of them, that'd be great.
And so, like, here, there's nothing that you enchant. You can craft some really cool weapons, but those weapons are rarely featured.
Right.
In fact, I've torn down weapons and
one.
made some really cool weapons. But again, it's like it's just a part of the game. I felt like it needs to be more
integrated into it.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So another thing I really love about this game too is what's called the arc. Basically, in this game, there's a apocalypse happening, and you and a few people can actually be saved by fleeing the world, which is a really cool idea, and I love it. And it made me actually feel rewarded for interacting with side characters and doing their quests, because I really got to. Or this is just a place where you can change your appearance. Okay.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that aspect of the game. People don't talk about it that often. I'm like, it really makes you feel like you need to go around and talk to everyone, which I like.
Oh, there it is.
And I do want to say a final thing I really enjoyed that isn't talked about very often is the different play styles. I love games like Skyrim where you can kind of play the game fight-wise how you want to. Again, for my character, I made a martial arts focused character, so no armor. Well, I'm wearing some prosthetic arms and legs, and a bandana, I think. But I like my character being pretty nude, so I like that I was able to do that and build my character to be all key focused. So that felt really cool. Can I just stand on this? Yeah.
Yeah, because you're so resistant to bio.
Oh, yeah, I'm resistant to everything. So I really like that it allowed me to build the character how I wanted to, and rewards me for that. And it changes the strategy I take when fighting enemies. That said, there are some critiques I have about this game, and I do want to get to those. And the critiques I have, I wanted to talk about because not many people talk about the critiques I have with this game. They're not very common critiques. So I thought it'd be cool to kind of share some of my issues with this game because, again, no one really talks about these things. And the first is character design. And I want to speak about character creation because I love the creation of the characters and I love that you can kind of go back and change their appearance throughout the game. I love the way you design your character. But what I do hate is a lot of the side characters in this game are very not memorable. They had a lot of very not super cool or not super distinct characters throughout the game. It was kind of weird too because a lot of the characters are they're really not unique in their personalities, and especially when it comes to your aura, your light versus dark auras, it's very unpredictable what is good, what characters will take you and which ones won't because of your personality. For example, there's like one guy who's a cook down near the water area, and he was fine with me being maximum dark, but apparently he's not if you're maximum light, and he's just like the epitome of a sweetheart. So it's like there's no real telling what makes a character like or not like your aura. There's no telling.
Unless you have a guide right in front of you. That's something you, like if you want certain people on your arc, it's best to look up a guide.
Right.
Because the guides will tell you what kind of aura is needed for certain people.
Right. And the characters are not memorable. I say that in the sense of like, it's hard to brand this game with certain characters because all the characters kind of suck.
Yeah, it's not like Skyrim where we all remember the Dragonborn, or the previous Dragonborn on the DLC, or Ulrich, or the Khajiit.
Yeah, and you always remember the companions that you get Like, what's the name of the main companion that everyone makes fun of in Skyrim? Who, like,
I know it's not Lisa, but I want to say Lisa.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like
it's
Lisa,
a very basic name. But she's a meme. Like, she was a meme for several years.
And, like, who's going to be a meme in this game? Like, no one cares about Moog. No one cares about most of the tribe leaders because they're barely on screen ever.
Well, the tribe leaders don't. Like, most of the people in this game don't do anything that's meme-worthy, I think.
Right, and, like, all the characters you interact with, they just put you on random hunting quests. Battling. I forgot what the dodge button is. It's been, like, a week since I've played this game. What's my dodge? Oh, yeah, circle. There we go. Haha. Bye.
I do love that slow-mo effect, but I know that was a common critique for some of the large reviewers out there. The slow-mo got a little too much.
Alright, where's the last one?
And for me, it's like I get that. But there was... What other game did that I thought was pretty cool?
Breath of the Wild does it with archery, which I like.
I know Dead Island, that's who used to do it. So Dead Island was a game that was kind of dead on arrival, really.
Oh, okay.
It had so many bad reviews on it.
Oh, jeez.
But I kind of liked it. Like, it wasn't that bad of a game.
Right.
And it got, like, in terms of some of the playstyle stuff, it got a fairly decent amount of flack for the slow-mo cam.
Oh, yeah.
Like this game here. And... I think with the patch, the slow-mo cam was kind of fixed because it does kind of happen at the most inopportune moments. Pretty much. But I personally like the slow-mo cam. I think it's kind of cool to watch. Just to have like your own little Matrix action happening as you're fighting. You know.
And for all I know, it might already be in the patch too, and they've already fixed it.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think that was one of the earlier patches.
Yeah. But yeah, so another thing I want to talk about critique-wise in this game is world building. The world is aesthetically great. I love the appearance of the world. But the story for the world kind of sucks. Because it's like, you're told constantly, oh no, the world is ending, the tree is in danger. But it's like, the way the world looks, it's like in some ways already post-apocalyptic, because like you see the remnants of human civilization and the animals have risen, but like aside from that, there's like no actual impending threat in the world. Like even the boss Lua Lupin or whatever, Lupa Lupin, it's like I have no reason to believe he's actually still a threat in this world, and I have no reason to believe the world is actually ending. Because everything, except for this little area right here, which is all gas and desert, it's like everything is pretty damn healthy and vibrant. Like and everyone's doing fine. Society is doing great.
Yeah, that's like if you talk to some of the villagers.
I just noticed they did a new update on this so that they green mark 100% of areas. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I dig that.
But like if you talk with some of the villagers, they'll say things like, to know how the world is doing, you have to look at the tree of life. And no, you don't.
Well, it's like, I hear that, but like, if that was the case, like, you'd want the tree to like start degrading the more hours you spend in the game.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
I was like, no, you don't have to look at the tree of life.
Exactly.
Because nothing is happening right now.
Right. It's like, this world is perfectly fine. Why is...
It's like saying today in our current world, oh, the world is ending. Well, I mean, that might be true, but there's not here. You know?
Exactly. It's not much.
It's not immediately evident.
Right, exactly. So much like, I don't believe you necessarily. So that's a big critique of mine, is just that I didn't find that to be the case at all. And another similar critique is the main character's backstory is just, it doesn't make sense in this game because they're mixing two different literary genres, the epic and the romance. And when I say the romance, I'm not talking about like your Harlequin romance genres. I'm talking about like the traditional meaning of romance, like the medieval romance. So like they're trying to say you're the hero who needs to save or ruin this world. And they're also saying, but you're also on this personal mission, this vendetta, against Lupa Lupin, who killed your family, and you need to have revenge or forgive him or something like that. And these two things, your character backstory and your present, don't really mix that well for me. It's like you enter through this wall, apparently. Are you trying to do something to me, dude? You didn't last very long.
Yeah, why did he try to kill you?
I don't know. Probably someone else.
Oh wait, is there? There's a enemy here. Okay. There are enemies all over this place.
I must have pissed this village off. I might have burned them down or something. Oh yeah, this is a village I burned.
Oh, so now you've come back to kill them.
Apparently. So like, you come into the wall into this new world essentially, and it's like the tribal leaders are like, oh, we automatically trust you because you're from outside, and we've heard stories about you or some shit, and it's like you don't feel like you've earned your hero or villain status because everyone automatically trusts you to do anything and everything, and you're supposed to come off like this badass, and I'm like, I died in almost every battle in the memory section. So I don't know how I gained this legacy as a badass when I literally just got my ass kicked in the past.
Yeah, it feels like the story needs to be adaptable to your interactions in the game. If you lose a battle in a memory, then the story needs to change to fit that narrative.
Yeah, and I guess, like, how to put this too, it's just like, I don't know why the backstory matters for the epic plot we're dealing with. They just don't seem connected at all.
Yeah, I mean, when Halo first came out, there wasn't much of a backstory to Master Chief.
Right.
I'm sure like, I've played all the Halo games, so like it gets more and more and more, but like when you first started, there wasn't much.
Right.
And Ratchet and Clank's backstory is, I mean, they met.
Right.
Yeah, that's what you get.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, I guess my main thing is I wish they had just cut out the whole past stuff and didn't try to make it this whole revenge narrative that mixes with an epic. That
make the past stuff a DLC. Like, give us an entire backstory DLC-wise.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, just make it a separate version of the game, and that would be really cool, I think.
Yeah, agreed. I agree fully. And my last main critique is the entire ending of the game. For them to just constantly be like, hey, the world is ending, and you have to save these people, and you need to go off to another world and do stuff there or whatever. It's like, I didn't care about Lupa Lupin, number one. So making him the final boss, I just didn't care about.
Yeah, and I feel like they had a good opportunity to alter Lupa Lupin's narrative. Because that's what they were trying to do. And not to give too many spoilers on it, but like, you almost kind of feel sorry for Lupa Lupin.
And actually, to give it, I will say spoilers alert here. Like, they try to put this stupid twist in there of like, oh, the only reason Lupa Lupin was the way he was because your mom killed his parents. It's like, I don't care. Like, you made Lupa Lupin come out to be this person of the far-off past, not of a recent threat. Like, I'm not even sure he's actually in this world anymore. And then, oh wait, his camp actually still exists. You can go back to it.
Yeah.
And it turns out that he had a reason for being the way he was, and your mom was kind of part of it. I'm like, I don't care. Like, you're not giving me reason to care.
Yeah, there should have been more interactions with Lupa Lupin.
Or the opposite. Like, either make it better or just take it the fuck out. I didn't, like, if I don't care, then either get rid of it or make me care. One of the two. Don't half-ass that.
Well, I think with how the tree interacts with Lupin, I think he could be a very important factor of the game.
Right, it's like,
he just needs to be made better.
Yeah, it's like, why did the tree interact with him? Like, it hasn't done much else the entire game. Why? What is so special about him that makes the tree actually hold him in its roots or whatever? That was weird. And so like going off that, another thing I hated was, as much as I loved the game making you interact with these characters for the art, for the final thing to be so, what's down here? I'm gonna drop down. I didn't really understand why they gave you such shitty dialogue with the characters, or lack thereof, that you're saving on the arc at the end of the game. Like, they don't say anything really unless you talk to them specifically. And I'm like, Dragon Age handled this. You could have whole relationships with the characters. Like, you could actually have sex with characters in Dragon Age. And they each have their own specific dialogue. All the different NPCs do.
Did they show the sex?
I think it's like...
Or is it behind the curtain?
I think it shows... Like, it's not behind the curtain exactly. Like, it does actually show, like, humping, I think. But it's not like you don't actually see penetration. But I think it does show more than the average game. It showed more than Fable did. Are you trying to hurt me? I can't tell. But I guess I'm saying, like, it showed that you could care about characters in intimate ways, and this game does not care about you actually connecting with the characters. And especially by the end, the ones that you've saved just kind of have a blank expression on their face, and they're sealed in a coffin. It's like, really? I did all that work and cared so much about who I would pick, and it was for just you just putting their avatar in a coffin? That was it?
Yeah, I would have been a bit more satisfied if they allowed us to create relationships with the characters.
Right.
Especially when, like, you can create a love interest.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, now I'm working for something.
Exactly.
You know, or even just a best friend. Shit.
Yeah.
Like, give me something to really work for.
Right.
Because right now it's like, why would I take Pebble onto the arc? Aside from, you know, my own personal reasons.
Yeah,
I think Pebble's hot.
Yeah, for you, he's cute. He's one of the few memorable characters. And it's like...
He's cute. He's timid. I have a type.
But it's like, by the time you get to the end of the game, you're going to be so disappointed because, like, he doesn't even get to say anything. He just kind of sits there and gets buried.
Yeah, and it's like... I guess it's like you say, why do all that work?
Right.
You can just go on the arc yourself.
Exactly. And yeah, for that shitty cutscene where it's like, oh no, the tree's roots just broke. Well, I mean, in your case, they won't probably. In my case, in your case, it would be a little bit different, I think.
I think, yeah, I mean, in my case, it's probably going to be very different because I have pushed all of the light into the tree. I'm doing a light run.
Yeah.
With minimal amounts of darkness in me, just because I want some of the dark magic, but not all of it.
Right. But yeah, so the ending felt very weak for me. So, like, genuinely, most of my critiques are story-based. I didn't like that we didn't have many memorable characters. I didn't like this lazy world building. I didn't like the lazy backstory writing. And I really didn't like the lazy ending.
Yeah.
So my biggest critiques that no one's really talking about are the story issues. Things like it having too many mechanics, or it has comic book effects just don't sit well with me because they're just lazy critiques. Or like the language isn't realistic. It's like, well, it's following a literary tradition. I mean, it's not that the critique is wrong necessarily, but it's more like it's a well-established pattern, and none of these reviewers are acknowledging that it has precedent, and if you're going to critique that, then you need to be critiquing all the original purveyors of that tradition, not just one person randomly because you think it's cool to just shit on them for fun. But yeah, that's my whole spiel on Biomutant. I'm going to kill this Huggle real quick, and then I think that will make an episode. We're probably not going to do any more Biomutant videos.
That being said, if y'all want us to do Biomutant, let us know, and we will do an entire Biomutant run.
Yeah.
Like, I am definitely down.
Yeah. And I like my little pumpkin spice latte wrap. Hello. Well, alright, that makes an episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to click like and subscribe, and we will see you next time in the trash pile. Bye!
Bye.